Hi, I'm Steve Carlson. I won the Independence Party primary for U.S. Senator, and you may remember me from my campaigns against Betty McCollum in the 4th Congressional District. I can't tell you how valuable it is to have the Independence Party as a major party in Minnesota. It's not a waste of time, and I work hard at it. This is me reading, making notes, and creating ideas out of a book. Here's me preparing to meet Betty McCollum and Tony Hernandez in debate in her safe House seat. I'm happy to listen, and I play well with others. Here's Tony listening to something I have to say. And here's me at the Minnesota State Fair in 2014. I had hoped to debate Al Franken there, but just like Betty used to do, he was ducking debates. These guys hadn't seen him. So I went looking for Al. First, I saw this guy. Isn't he great? I like this eagle so much, I made him the new mascot representing independent voters in the Independence Party of Minnesota. This guy gives getting high a whole new meaning. Finally, I found the DFL. Uh-oh, am I too late? Oh, here he is. Let's listen in.
Hi, I'm Al Franken with the big DFL welcome. Great Minnesota yesterday. Thank you for stopping by our meeting. The Democratic Farmer Labor Party is good McCarthy, Walter Mondale, and Paul Wells. We have Governor Mark Dayton and Senator and I guess the DFL stands for service. Paul Wellstone may have put it best. He said we all do better when we all do better. We all do better when we all work to eat something. To pay the living wage so that we put a roof over our family's head. Put healthy food on the table. We all do better when everyone has access to world-class education and affordable health care. When everyone can afford to get a great post-secondary education. We all do better when everyone has a secure retirement. We are the party that wants to strengthen the middle class and make it possible for those who aspire to the middle class to get there. And that dimes the work I've done in the Senate, working hard to create jobs for a smarter workforce base, to make college more affordable, getting our children the medical health education, taking out Wall Street and another financial plan. Fighting for a woman's right to pay and to make her own health care and to protect the resources in this country. I've gotten a lot done.
Al has been busy. He says he's fighting for us. So here I find him taking on Wall Street, fighting for women, getting affordable health care for all, world-class education, jobs for everyone, and roofs over their head, food on the table, no, healthy food on the table, jobs that mean something. All I can say is that things must be great out in Washington, D.C., and I'm sure they all like Al and want to get him back. But what about Minnesota? It sounds like he lives in Lake Wobegon, where all the kids are above average. All their parents have meaningful jobs with living wages, healthy food on the table, whether the kids like it or not. World-class education in Lake Wobegon. They should book Al Franken at the Fitzgerald Theater, a new jazz age. Well, to be serious, how do we get there? How do we get to the entertainment world of Lake Wobegon where our woes will all vanish? I'm afraid it just doesn't work that way. We can't just dream. We all do better when we all do better, yes. But when do we all do better? I believe we need leadership. In order for this make-believe world of Al Franken to ever be realized, we'd better get started now. Wall Street's still standing, despite Al's claims that he fights them. Our schools are failing. In the congressional district where Al lived, the largest school district has just over 50% of the students graduating ever. What's that all about? Al, we all know what work means. We're not looking for the meaning of work. We just need jobs, need to create jobs. Does anyone even know where jobs could really come from? Is it from Al Franken? I knew Paul Wellstone, worked with him in government and politics, and then later as a journalist. But I don't think Paul for a moment thought we all do better. Paul is gone, and we're still not doing better. We're doing worse. And Al Franken has been sitting there in the middle of the worst government debacles since the Great Depression. We're falling behind the rest of the world in nearly every measure, and it's because of Al's imagination. Al imagines that we are doing better when Washington is doing worse. I have a plan for slashing the federal deficit by cutting Washington departments and agencies that are taking our tax dollars to do work that could be better done in Minnesota in the right way to stimulate growth and development for our future. I have a plan for creating millions of jobs across the nation by lifting the burden of usurious interest rates Al's Senate allows foreign banks to charge Minnesota families, freeing up significant discretionary income they can spend on things their families need, including healthy food on the table, and allowing new jobs for other Minnesotans to provide these things. I have a plan for encouraging private schools and school choice, including allowing the states themselves, including Minnesota, to establish school tuition organizations to help Minnesota low-income kids out of our failing public schools and into the qualified private school of their choice, putting these decisions back in the hands of loving and caring families to plan their child's and young students' future, and to shift the educational power and resources back to Minnesota from Washington and letting Minnesota do it better. Let everyone join in. We can create more and better jobs for teachers if we let the private sector do it, improving the use of technology and lifelong learning, but protect our students from falling prey to lending from foreign banks with credit card offerings that don't comply with Minnesota usury limits, and from schools that load them up with enough debt for a lifetime. I have a plan for protecting free and fair elections and the First Amendment from those who would like to get their hands on it, like Al Franken and Amy Klobuchar, and for allowing you to vote in your precinct caucus without your right being abridged because of your race or your gender or your religion, like the DFL and the state of Minnesota make you do, and for taking the money out of politics and allowing candidates to reach Minnesota voters just the way Mark Ritchie reaches them when he's campaigning for the DFL with your email address you give to the state when you register to vote, if you have chosen to do that. I have a plan for protecting the rights of little girls and youth against human trafficking on the border and in Mexico, for securing that border and restoring human rights, mutual respect, rule of law, and prosperity by developing the border region with cooperation from the United States of America and the United States of Mexico through the Border States Organization, and for restoring economic hope and stability in St. Paul, in any community which has been hit by out-of-control stimulus spending, where workers from outside come in to get temporary construction jobs and cause economic chaos and destroyed communities along University Avenue, in the downtown areas, and the suburbs. And my plan would allow businesses and communities to participate and grow back. I have a plan to take back our health care. Let Obamacare die, and let the states take the remnants, like exchanges or whatever, and work with the private sector with help, not hindrance from the federal government, to target killer diseases and reduce health disparities, racial, gender, class, cultural, and other medical care disparities that leave victims disproportionately at risk of suffering and death because of neglect. And I have a plan to protect our environment and our natural resources. I would use Senate oversight to take back the gray wolf from U.S. Fish and Wildlife and ensure that our gray wolves are not slaughtered for profit because of Obama and Mark Dayton and Al Franken lifting the ban of the taking and selling internationally of the wolf pelts. And I call for a moratorium on the wolf hunt scheduled to celebrate Mark Dayton's hope for victory in November, so that the good people of Minnesota can protect our tourism industry and our wolves. The legacy of all of us and the bounty of God from impending slaughter and destruction. I would oppose any type of wasteful sulfide mining in the BWCA to recover relatively small amounts of ore taken from the ground while rendering the natural environment degraded. Cleanup is not good enough, Al Franken. There must be preservation, not degradation of the natural environment. This should not be handed over to the EPA in Washington, but again, the Minnesota people must be informed and given the opportunity to make their beautiful state more beautiful and keep it that way. Again, shift back the power and resources to the state and trust the people. Employ the people and let us make our state great. That's my strategy. And I'm still looking for Al. I await Al's answer. I can't wait to debate. Until the philosophy which holds one race superior and another inferior is finally and permanently discredited and abandoned, until there are no longer first-class and second-class citizens of any nation, until the color of a man's skin is of no more significance than the color of his eyes. Until the basic human rights are equally guaranteed to all without regard to race.